I want to thank everyone, first of all, for joining us today. We at Corporate Armor are thrilled to partner with Fortinet to bring you this really exciting web seminar. My name is Anna McCrae, and I'm the Director of Sales over at Corporate Armor. And we are joined today by presenter Joel Boyd, the Director of SMB Marketing at Fortinet. There's Joel. Hello, Joel.
Hey, guys.
Joel comes to us with years of experience in both sales and marketing, making him a really excellent resource to provide, not only the technical view, but an understanding of how changes and options impact your business. His expertise comes from tireless research, keeping his fingers on the pulse of trends through countless customer interactions. So we're really excited to have him with us today. We welcome questions, and we'll open it up potentially at the end, but if you'd like, if something comes to mind during the web seminar, please feel free to type your questions into the chat options that you see, and we'll be sure to get back to you. So for now, I'll turn it over to Joel and the Fortinet team.
Great, thank you so much. So as mentioned, my name is Joel Boyd, and I am the Director of SMB Marketing here at Fortinet. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about our story of Engineered for Complete Protection. Now, there are a number of different storylines that come along with this, but we always like to start the story with secure office networking because it really is that critical piece that so many businesses start with, and especially right now with the world that we're living in, that secure office network, happens both in a traditional point of view when we're actually in a normal office, as well as remotely. So for anybody who doesn't know who Fortinet is, it's okay. So we like to think of ourselves as the #1 cybersecurity company in the world. And the good news is, though, you don't really need to take our word for it. There are a lot of different people who are going to talk about us. So we're liked, pretty well. We like to think we're the #1 cybersecurity innovator in the world. We actually have nearly 3 times more patents than our nearest competitors. And it's because we're building so much purpose-built technology and allows us to bring a lot of advances to market and gives us that competitive advantage. And that leads to being so validated by so many third parties, whether it's a Gartner or whether it was NSS or any other third-party houses. We're actually more tested and proven than most other folks on the market. And that leads us to being the most deployed NGFW on the market. Roughly 30% of the firewall shipments and counting across all industries, regions, countries. So we're definitely out there. A lot of folks are using us. So that's our pitch there for who we are. But for you, let's really talk about your business. You're all about growth. And technology is really driving your ability to open new markets, share data easier, faster. And in order to do that, you really need technology. But the challenge is that technology is two-sided. You have to make sure that you're introducing and adopting technology, but doing it in the right way so that you're not losing visibility and control. Because what often happens, you start losing that visibility and control, more and more time comes, and with all that adoption comes more risk. Suddenly you've got more gaps, more potential vulnerabilities appear, and you're forced to make those trade-offs that you really don't want to have to do. So you need a different way of doing things. And that's where we kind of start talking about the office network. As I mentioned, this is your lifeline. We're talking about the building blocks of your company. Regardless if you're opening up, a remote office, you really just need that strong office network. So bottom line is, we'd like to think you need a smarter approach, one that's intelligent enough to handle the modern threats and requirements, but built to maximize those limited resources that you need to do with a small team. So in our mind, security, it's got to be smart. It's got to be intuitive, really. Using technology like automation and machine learning to combat the modern tools that our attackers are using against you. And you need a way of actually managing this entire process. You really can't afford to have a complex environment. Nobody's got the time, the cycles to ensure that policies aren't conflicting, that workflows go the way you expect them to. And you need that quick analysis and understanding of what's going on with the ability to report those findings, up to auditors and other, management folks there. And at the end of the day, this is all great, but you need maximum value with whatever you're purchasing. We get that. Figuring out a way to get the security that you really need, security that you really want, with the ROI that's being expected on you to deliver. So what do I mean by intuitive security? So with Fortinet, you're going to get a solution that brings networking and security together with things like, consolidated security services like advanced threat protection, IPS, web filtering, and more, all delivered through the NGFW. We happen to be really proud that we're a company that pioneered this convergence of SD-WAN and NGFW into a single device. And we're going to make sure that you can do this and deliver it with automated security. That's going to give you the ability to protect against those new threats in minutes. And we're doing this through FortiGuard Labs, which is deriving information from billions of sensors. If you think about it, we've got such a wide range of products on the market right now, with so many different industries around so many countries. We're just seeing more stuff. And with that information, we can also drive faster incident response, saving your team cycles, obviously, as well as giving you a much more secure posture going forward. So when it comes to secure office networking, we really deliver 3 key pieces that you're going to need, each available in a wide range of models to fit your needs. And it starts with our famous FortiGate. This is the NGFW that I spoke of, that is the most widely deployed NGFW on the market. And we're able to do that because if you actually look at the throughput that Fortinet brings your organization, you're going to find that it's the lowest cost per protected megabyte. And when you think about all the other security tools that we're putting into the FortiGate, as well as an integrated secure SD-WAN for no additional cost, it just is a smarter investment overall, and why we're seeing such high adoption. Also, we've got our switching as well that's integrated into this solution with multiple gigabit ports, so you never have an issue with scalability. They're stackable, so it makes it easier to manage, as well as power over Ethernet options, so you don't have to do all the electrical cabling across your entire office. And obviously, FortiAPs are our wireless solution, because very few times are we attached to our desk all the time. Usually we've got to go out and about and do conference calls and rooms and whatnot, and sometimes we get the connectivity we want, sometimes we don't, and that can be a problem. So ours are Wi-Fi 6 ready, with strong indoor and outdoor options, and we really do have strong connectivity. I've actually talked to some customers who had to dial it back because it was going out too far than they actually wanted to. So this is our secure office networking components, what we're seeing, and pretty much our #1 solution that we sell out there. So what do I mean about simplification through convergence? So when many companies start out, and you guys may be one of those, you end up buying a lot of individual point product security things. The problem is you start trying to manage each one of these individually, and all of a sudden the story becomes much harder. Things become more complex. Policies don't work. Workflows fail. And this is where the NGFW really makes sense, because it does act as a choke point. So we've taken all of these capabilities and we've integrated them into our FortiGate NGFWs, as well as a lot of the traditional security protocols and services that you're typically looking for. VPN capabilities, application control, intrusion prevention, AV, URL filtering, etc. Now, obviously there are a lot of things that we bring to market, and the whole point is consolidation, simplification. The firewall can do all of this, and we make that process really easy for you. But I'm not going to go into every single one of these things. I just want to focus on one specifically, and that's the intrusion prevention system. Because this is really important for your traffic analysis, in an area that most people will often even buy a separate system for. But with FortiGates, you don't have to. Why is this so important? Because, and you can read this in our latest research, you're probably seeing this in your own offices. SMBs are just being targeted a lot more with much more sophisticated attacks. Now, why is that happening? A couple reasons. First, SMBs are adopted much more mature technology, so the attack surface itself is much bigger and easier to find holes in. And then secondly, it really is just economies of scale in a sense. That all of a sudden these really targeted attacks that attackers were using against enterprises and cost a lot to develop, well, all of a sudden what's old against an enterprise is actually new against an SMB player. So they're using those same threats against the weaker security, if you will, in order to make sure that it works, and it has been. So you really do need something that's a lot stronger, where in the past you may not have needed something as strong, but today, in the way the world's going, you guys are going to need the same protection. It's just a matter of fact. So we are proud to say, again, and you'll hear me say this time and time again, you really don't need to take my word for it. It's in the pudding. We have been engineering our IPS for over 10 years. Gartner came up with the original criteria, I think, back in 2011, give or take. And we even hit the exceeded expanded IPS criteria. And you're probably looking at this like, wow, it's a lot of charts. What is that? Well, that's our results, in which, if you can see it, we really just kind of blew it out of the water. We're really happy about this, really proud of this. Exploits, drive-bys, this is the effectiveness of our RPS technology and engineering. And what's even crazier, you heard me talk about protected megabytes per second, is most people have their data sheets, and they're going to say, hey, we can actually take care of this much throughput even with security turned on. But oftentimes when you look at it and compare it, when you start testing it, it's lower than what the data sheet told you. We were actually higher, and we're very proud of that. And this is how we're able to give such a low total cost of ownership when people do invest in our secure office networking solution. All right, so let's set our focus talking about protecting the local networks, the LAN edge, this whole idea of the combination of the FortiGate integrating with the FortiSwitch and the FortiAP. So these three devices, we engineered intentionally for them to work together. You're really going to look at something called FortiLink, and that is proprietary technology. Doesn't cost you anything, by the way. It's part of our operating system, but it's what allows folks to actually get through everything and use the switch and the AP almost as if they are extensions directly of the firewall. And it's all managed from the same system. You don't have 3 separate portals. It just really makes the entire process much easier. And as mentioned, this is what gives you, like the switches, you're going to look at SSIDs or tie directly into firewall policies. It just makes it one autonomous system versus 3 distinct ones that you've now got to pack together, which ultimately does, drop the cost of ownership. No licensing to do all this stuff. It's just built into the products and the engineering behind the operating system. Most folks do purchase all 3 of these together just to have that one cohesive unit. Now, let's take a look at an area that, as I mentioned, we're really proud of because we actually ended up pioneering it, and that's our combination with secure SD-WAN. So just like consolidating security into the NGFW, it makes sense with networking security policies to apply to SD-WAN. Now, we totally acknowledge that nowadays this is not a new thing. However, with most offerings available, not all the pain points are really being addressed with that single solution. So you end up with like these 2 stacked approaches because most companies hadn't really thought about SD-WAN. They've gone out and done via merger and acquisition. We built this together, and every quarter, honestly, it feels like we're coming out with new capabilities, more advanced systems. And why this is important for you, even if you're not thinking about more advanced SD-WAN capabilities, is yes, you've got the basic, traffic identification and optimization already present, but as you get bigger, as you start expanding, you don't have to rip and replace. And that's such a critical thing. If you think about how often you're refreshing your technology, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to refresh it as often as you probably are right now? Or if the technology actually worked and you didn't even have to worry about it. That's really what we're going, and trying to do across this entire solution set. And it's why, time and time again, we're being considered a leader in things like SD-WAN. We're being considered, a leader in our NGFWs. And even recently, this is new for us, we were considered a visionary for our LAN access. So this is our wired and wireless, so switching and access points. So we're now in Gartner for literally all three of these guys together. So again, you don't have to hear us, talking about whether or not we're good or not. There's just a lot of information out there from third parties that's pointing to it. Now, how do we kind of bring this all together? One of the big things that's really important when you're looking at solutions out there, in my opinion, is whether or not it's a platform security approach. And why that's so critical, you heard me talking about our ability to really drive protection based on the knowledge that we have across, that we're gaining from all our sensors that we have out in the public. And this is really derived through FortiGuard Labs and FortiSandbox Cloud, which is our sandboxing and automated threat intelligence. So if you think about every single Forti client, which is our endpoint, or our EDR solutions, FortiEDR, you think about all our email that's out there, all the firewalls, the switches, the APs, every single one of these is scanning the world looking for attacks. And we take all this information up and it allows us to analyze billions of events a day. And from that, we're able to really build a really strong model based on machine learning and artificial intelligence. And the beautiful part about this is we can update the entire Fortinet security fabric, regardless of where you're located, across all industries and verticals, with new threat intelligence in a matter of minutes, not hours, not days, minutes. And the good news, because we have such a wide variety of customers that we're working with, you're seeing both all the advanced threats as well as all the known attacks that really just gives you a strong security posture. Which kind of gets us down into this notion of simplified management. So let's switch gears a little bit and give you the ability to think about these things. So when I say cloud delivered, as mentioned, FortiGate Cloud is our management, and that comes with your firewall, your FortiGate firewall, and it also gives you the ability to do zero-touch provisioning. Especially right now, so many things being remote. Even before this, as our companies all look to expand, we can't afford to have on-site IT help all the time. We kind of just need to be able to send something there, have somebody plug it in, and it work. And that's what zero-touch provisioning is going to give you the ability to do. As well as a lot of our products overall are offered as security and management as a service offerings. So it's not just the firewall, but we've got a number of services that are security as a service delivered. And that's, again, if you think about a growth path, that's what we're trying to give to you. And again, with a single pane of glass management structure to give you the visibility and consistent control and maintain security across multiple devices from one spot. That's what we want to try and give you, along with obviously the analytics and reporting that you need to understand what happened, communicate it up the chain of command, and really just going about your normal daily routine. So, as mentioned, so FortiGate Cloud is usually what folks will start with from a management perspective. The good news is we kind of have a growth path. So as you mature, you can buy bigger, more robust management capabilities. FortiGate Cloud, as mentioned, is free of charge. It comes with your FortiGate NGFW, and it's going to give you the ability to control your firewall, your switches, your APs, your SD-WAN, your VPN, even your endpoint Forti clients if you so desire. Now, as you start, and we certainly hope at least, as you start purchasing more Fortinet products and you are expanding into cloud security or email security and other things, we want to give you the ability to do more with your investment. So Fabric Management Center Cloud is going to be there available for you. You don't have to rip and replace. It's just a simple lift and shift. And a lot of folks take over that, excuse me, when they start talking about the greater Fortinet fabric security. And then, as mentioned, Fortigate Cloud is our security management as a service portal that allows you to quickly jump to multiple management portals, all from the cloud-based system. So we really try to give you management, all cloud delivered, that's just right for whatever your situation happens to be. So you're not overspending on things that maybe you don't really need. So this delves a little bit more into what we're talking about with FortiGate Cloud. It's the same UI as well, regardless of what model of NGFW you're doing, which is really helpful. I know that a lot of our competitors, you're going to start in kind of an entry-level firewall, and the management's going to look and feel a certain way. You're going to get used to that, and then you're going to outgrow it, and you're going to have to take on a new NGFW, and all of a sudden, it's more advanced. You're looking at your management console, and it's like, what are all these bells and whistles? I don't even know how to use this. For us, it's consistent. So you kind of keep that same education, regardless of what size device you're actually looking at. And as mentioned, you can manage your LAN devices and your WAN devices and policies all from a single device. One of the things we also try and do is give you templates, because sometimes you just kind of need that little push in the starting point. So we've got NGFW and SD-WAN templates ready to go, as well as role-based access controls. Even if you do have a small IT team, especially if you're working with an MSSP or even an MSP, not everybody should have the same permissions and access. Not all the times you can do that with entry-level firewall management. With us, you can. So we make sure that that's baked in, as well as I've mentioned, zero-touch turnkey provisioning, so you can just send devices out to where they need to be. Someone just clicks them in, they dial back to the FortiGate Cloud, and all the policies and management automatically push out. As well as your standard, centralized logging capabilities, out-of-the-box reporting, and it's going to give you real-time visibility, so you can double-click into certain areas to understand a little bit more what's happening, if you so desire. Again, kind of consistent policy controls. And one of the things that we like to do is give you the ability to contextually understand how your policies are working. So using a combination of, if a particular user from a particular device is accessing this kind of application, then they can do X, Y, Z. It just gives you a lot more flexibility that's important that you're going to need as you mature as a larger scale company, or you actually may already be in that situation right now and you need that level of granularity. So that's there, it's ready to go for you, as well as URL categorization. That's going to give you the ability to do really broad application blocking. For example, gambling overall, it's like, cool, it's block gambling. So that way people don't actually go to the sites that you don't want them to, kind of change and reduce your attack surface that way. As well as being able to flip back and forth between IPv4 and IPv6 configurations. And as mentioned, the analytics and reporting, and I understand, this is kind of those table stakes elements, but I want to make sure you understand that we do have them. And there's a lot more information here that I don't want to take this situation to kind of cover with them. If you're interested in learning more about the management, the logging, the reporting capabilities, set up a meeting, with Corporate Armor or with us, and let's go through it and understand a little bit better what your needs are, and we'll show you kind of how you can design that within our management in order so you can get the protection you need, but with the time that you're really looking for. Which brings me to my last point, and that's maximum value. All these things I've just been talking about, are great in principle, but if you can't afford it, who cares? So, luckily in Fortinet, this is really what our DNA is all about. Best price to performance, with superior security compute ratings, right size options. You've heard me mention time and again, consistently recognized as a leader in the space. And it just kind of leads us to, we really do believe that we're a smarter investment. Giving you a growth path from even small startup with 20 employees potentially, all the way up to tens of thousands. We cover the entire gambit with customizable security bundles that are going to fit your needs. And we've got roughly 60,000 partners, I think, around the world, Corporate Armor obviously being one of them. So we can really easily find the expertise you need if you do need help with implementation or getting more information about a certain solution. It shouldn't be hard for you to find. So security compute rating, that's something a lot of folks ask us, like, well, what do you mean by that? And this is what I mean, and what I really mean when I say, you're just getting a better solution for your money. What you can do and what we do is we look at a number of different capabilities that the firewall brings to market, and we look at our competitors, and we look about the throughput that's coming in from their models with similarly priced devices, and we're just faster for the money. It's just as simple as that. And you can go on LinkedIn, you can see the companies I've worked for, and why I'm at Fortinet. This is a huge reason for SMB. It just makes better sense. There's so much security that all of us, top tier players can do. The question really becomes, how much security can you really get for your money? And for us, that notion of complete security, complete protection is so critical because of how attackers are going about things. We want to make sure that you're getting, your bang for the buck. And as mentioned, well, that's great. How do you do this so much better than your competitors? And the blunt truth is, investment in R&D makes a difference. It pays dividends. We've got 680 patents and counting, 3 times our nearest competitor. And it allows us to build things like these custom purpose-built security processing units, SPUs, that give us the ability to really customize a chip for what it's supposed to be doing. That gives us a much faster speed. And because we engineer our own chips, compared to a lot of folks out there who are just using the generic chips, it gives us a little bit of a leg up. That's how we do it. And you can see it, encryption is what a perfect example that shows this. When you start turning encryption on, we're no different. We get a little bit of a ding with our performance as well. The question is, how much of a ding are you actually going to be looking at? And this is a perfect example where if you look at a lot of the top tier players in security, they're getting dinged a lot harder when they turn encryption on than we are. And again, this is because of our focus in R&D and engineering, and it's just the technology that we're driving on a yearly, quarterly basis. And you've heard me mention that, as I said, it's not like we're only playing in the enterprise market. We absolutely play in the SMB market, and even in the small office, Main Street type players. We have literally an appliance for all shapes and sizes with similar look and feel, so you're not having to necessarily rip and replace the technology and the education you learned in order to get yourself there. So to kind of wrap things up, as mentioned, we like to think of ourselves as really engineered for complete protection. And there are a few different pillars that we like to talk about in order to get this. This was our first one, secure office networking. Endpoint remote user protection talks about endpoint protection, EDR, remote user secure access, and then obviously email. All these solutions work together in the cloud with management and analytics combined. And as much as we hope and we pray that all your investments are Fortinet, we also understand that's not reality. And you're going to have additional solutions in there that aren't from us. But that doesn't mean that your security posture should take a hit. And one of the things we're also really known for is our integrations and APIs and connectors. So these are varying different levels. And the short story is it just makes it so it's really easy to connect your third-party resources into the fabric of Fortinet. That's really all this is saying. It makes it so that a lot of that integration or cost that you would have to do, you don't have to. Our partners are building those for us. The API connectivity is really in depth, so you're not losing functionality. So all that stuff out of the box, ready to go. And again, this is why just year after year, unfortunately NSS is taking a break because of COVID. But even before that, you can just see across so many different technologies, even when you look at the other competitors that are on the market, we're just owning things and we're driving such success. And I hope that you'll give us a shot and have a conversation with us and join the rest of folks that have. So if you're thinking about, well, this is great, what do I do next? As mentioned, we just covered real quickly a number of different products in our secure office networking solution. So we've got FortiGate NGFW with secure SD-WAN, switches, APs, the management components of Fortigate Cloud or Fabric Management Center. Let's have a conversation. Let's dig a little bit more into what they can and cannot do and help understand how that can fit your mold for what you're trying to achieve. But it's not always about money. And we encourage you to take advantage of our free tools as well. We know so much, especially right now, is just employee education and training. I admit I'm a human being. I make mistakes too, despite being in cybersecurity for a number of years. And our cybersecurity training is free, and it's won numerous awards. So let us help you, as well as free cyber threat assessments. We call them CTAPs, and what these are really just ways that we can put our security in line with what you're currently doing and potentially show you what you might be missing. Now, what's interesting is that when we talk to clients about our CTAPs, a lot of folks think there are these huge things and only big companies do them. 96% of the CTAPs we do are actually with companies less than 1,000 employees. And on average, 51% of the time, we detect significant application vulnerabilities that are going unpatched. And even 41% of the time, we're finding malware and botnets lurking around. So, and about half the people we do CTAPs for, we find a lot of stuff. It's a free tool. Let us prove it to you. Ask about it, and we're happy to put you in touch with the right people. And then, as mentioned, we just talked about one of our solutions. Happy to talk to you about additional things. This is all one cohesive cybersecurity fabric for you guys. Let us know how we can help. With that, I will turn it back over to the corporate armor chief.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Joel. Really, really great presentation. As Joel said, if you want to talk about this further or get more information, please feel free to contact our team of advisors at Corporate Armor. And thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah. Happy to take any questions if there are any as well, by the way.
I don't see any in the chat just now, Joel, but again, if we do receive any, we'd be happy to send those along or answer those for you.
All right, then. Will do. Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate the time. Have a great rest of your day.